Mimic octopus. In 1998, scientists discovered an octopus in the Indo-Pacific that doesn't just camouflage, it performs. The mimic octopus can impersonate at least 15 different animals, including lionfish, sea snakes, flatfish, and stingrays, selecting its disguise based on which predator is currently threatening it. Not randomly. Specifically, when a damselfish approaches, it hides its body and waves two arms in black and white stripes to mimic a banded sea snake, the one predator that damselfish instinctively avoid. To mimic a flatfish, it pulls all 8 arms together and undulates across the seafloor in a single rippling motion. For a lionfish, it spreads its arms radially and holds them rigid like venomous spines. This isn't camouflage. Camouflage is hiding. This is performance. The mimic octopus doesn't alter its color and weight. It alters its shape, its movement pattern, its body posture, and its behavioral signature simultaneously. Every impersonation is a complete physical transformation executed in real time. No other animal on Earth does this across this many species. Scientists have confirmed at least 15 impersonations, but field researchers believe the actual number is significantly higher because documentation requires catching the behavior on camera in open water, which happens rarely. How it selects which impersonation to deploy, and whether that selection involves anything resembling decision-making, remains unresolved. Cuttlefish. Most animals that change color do it slowly. A cuttlefish does it in milliseconds. Their skin contains approximately 10 million chromatophores per square inch, each one a tiny elastic sac of pigment controlled directly by muscle contractions. The result is a surface that functions less like skin and more like a living display. Zebra stripes appear and vanish. Traveling waves pulse from head to tail in rhythmic loops. Spots materialize, expand, and collapse. None of this is reflexive. It's controlled. What makes cuttlefish genuinely strange is their ability to display completely different patterns on each side of their body simultaneously. The left side shows one message. The right side shows another. Male cuttlefish exploit this directly during competition. One side of the body displays aggressive male coloration to warn off a rival, while the other side shows female patterning to deceive a second male watching from the other direction. 2 separate signals, one body. Simultaneously, they are also colorblind, which means this entire visual system, one of the most sophisticated in nature, operates without the animal ever perceiving the colors it mirrors. How it achieves chromatic precision without chromatic perception remains one of marine biology's unresolved questions. Scientists have been studying cuttlefish skin for decades and still cannot fully replicate its speed, resolution, or adaptability in any synthetic material. Lyrebird. Shape-shifting isn't always visual. The superb lyrebird of Australia reshapes sound itself and does it with a precision that crosses into the unsettling. Its syrinx, the avian vocal organ, is the most structurally complex of any bird on Earth. The result is an animal that can reproduce any acoustic input it encounters with near-perfect fidelity. Chainsaws, camera shutters, car alarms, the calls of more than 20 other bird species reproduced in a seamless, layered chorus. In documented recordings, single lyrebirds have reproduced the sounds of entire bird communities, creating the acoustic signature of a forest that no longer exists around them. But what elevates this beyond mimicry is the context. Lyrebirds incorporate these sounds into their mating displays, weaving chainsaws and human voices into elaborate performances designed to attract females. The sounds that make it into the display are the sounds the bird has decided are worth keeping. An animal editing its own acoustic identity for strategic purposes. Males begin developing their repertoire at around 1 year old and continue adding new material throughout their lives, meaning older males carry decades of accumulated sound. A living archive of everything their environment has produced within earshot. The oldest documented males have been observed incorporating sounds from logging operations that ended over 30 years prior, preserving acoustic evidence of human activity that no longer exists anywhere else. Golden tortoise beetle. Most color-changing animals use pigment. The golden tortoise beetle uses fluid dynamics. In its default state, it looks like a drop of liquid gold, a metallic sheen so intense it appears fabricated. This effect is produced by microscopic layers in its transparent outer shell that refract light like a prism, creating structural color rather than chemical color. But when threatened, it shifts fluid between those shell layers, collapsing the optical geometry entirely. The gold disappears. What remains is a dull reddish-brown beetle with dark spots. A completely different animal to any predator watching. The transformation takes approximately 2 minutes and is fully reversible. The beetle can cycle between states repeatedly. Mating and feeding also trigger partial color shifts, meaning the same mechanism that functions as camouflage also functions as a communication system. One physical process, multiple behavioral applications. Scientists studying this fluid-driven color shift are now applying the same principles to adaptive camouflage materials and color-changing surfaces in engineering. The beetle solved in evolutionary time what materials scientists are still working to replicate in laboratory conditions. Pufferfish. A pufferfish at rest looks unremarkable. A mid-sized fish, slow, unarmored, without significant speed or aggression. Then something approaches. In a matter of seconds, it gulps water, inflating its elastic stomach to 3 times its normal body volume, transforming from a flat-sided fish into a near-perfect sphere covered in spines. The geometry of this expansion solves a specific predatory problem. Most predators require a body shape they can orient in their mouth to swallow. A sphere provides no such orientation. Combined with spines pointing outward in every direction under tension, the inflated form becomes both impossible to grip and impossible to swallow for anything short of an apex predator. The venom in its organs, tetrodotoxin, is 1,200 times more toxic than cyanide, with no antidote. But the transformation itself does most of the work before the venom ever becomes relevant. Predators who survive an encounter learn to recognize the shape. The inflation isn't just a physical defense. It's a broadcast. A predator that sees a puffed sphere with erect spines and correctly identifies what it means will never attempt the encounter again. The shape does the work. The poison is the backup. Saharan sandviper. The Saharan sandviper doesn't change what it looks like. It changes what it is relative to its environment. Using lateral undulation, it submerges itself into loose sand by vibrating its body sideways at the surface, sinking within seconds until only its eyes and the top of its head remain visible. No digging, no excavation, just controlled oscillation until the desert floor absorbs it completely. The body flattens and widens during submersion, maximizing surface contact with the substrate. Its coloration, a pale gold-brown precisely matching the surrounding sand, completes the disappearance. Prey walking across the surface has no spatial reference to locate a buried predator and no visual distinction between sand and snake. The viper waits motionless for hours. When prey enters strike range, the attack emerges from beneath the surface with no preceding visible movement. No hiding spot, no ambush position. The viper doesn't hide near the landscape. It becomes the landscape, a predator for whom the ground itself is both camouflage and weapon simultaneously. Satanic leaf-tailed gecko. Madagascar's satanic leaf-tailed gecko has evolved a disguise so complete it functions at every level of perception simultaneously. The body outline replicates a dead leaf, including irregular torn edges, brown and tan mottled coloration, dried curling texture, and a network of faint vein-like lines across the surface. Lichen patches are simulated by pale blotches on the skin. The eyes are flattened and positioned to eliminate the circular profile that would betray an animal. But the tail is the most precise detail. It is shaped, edged, and patterned to look exactly like a dead leaf with bites taken out of it, complete with simulated decay and irregular margins that match forest floor debris perfectly. When motionless against bark or leaf litter, this gecko is visually indistinguishable from dead plant matter to human eyes, bird eyes, and snake eyes. The deception operates across multiple visual systems simultaneously, not by accident, but because each component addresses a different detection mechanism used by a different class of predator. It is not one disguise layered over an animal. It is a composite disguise engineered to defeat multiple threat types at once, requiring no movement, no decision, no activation of any kind. The gecko simply exists. The disguise runs continuously. Indonesian narrow-headed softshell turtle. The Indonesian narrow-headed softshell turtle looks like something assembled from mismatched parts. Its shell is flat, rubbery, and olive gray, roughly 70 to 80 centimeters, about 28 to 31 inches, across, bearing no resemblance to the hard dome structure most people associate with turtles. But its most extreme feature is its neck, which extends to nearly the full length of its shell, ending in a narrow tubular snout that functions as a biological snorkel. This allows the turtle to remain completely buried under river sediment with only the tip of its snout breaking the surface, breathing without being detectable. When prey approaches, the neck extends at a speed fast enough to function as a strike mechanism. A turtle simultaneously hidden, breathing, and hunting from the same static buried position. Every unusual proportion serves this single function. The flat shell enables burial. The elongated neck enables surface breathing from depth. The narrow snout minimizes surface exposure to a single point. Evolution didn't add these features separately. It built a body where concealment and predation are structurally the same state, not two behaviors the animal switches between, but one continuous condition it never has to leave. 8 animals. 8 completely different answers to the same problem. Some use fluid dynamics. Some use behavior. Some use sound. Some dissolve into the landscape entirely. But across all 8, one pattern holds without exception. The disguise always fits the threat precisely, which means the threat is what built the disguise. Evolution doesn't produce camouflage randomly. It produces exactly what survival required. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing wasted.